How do we set our children up for success in the world of AI? A world that we have no way of understanding as it is evolving so quickly. As a biologist, as a woman living through this shift, and most of all as a mother, I've been sitting with this question. In today's episode, I want to open a conversation about parenting at the edge of the unknown, with honesty, curiosity, and hope. I'm so curious to hear what you think too, so let's talk. Hi, and welcome back to the Doula Johanna podcast, where we explore what it means to support ourselves and each other through life's biggest transitions. Today's episode is a love child from my biologist brain and my mama heart. It is also an episode that I will look back on in 2 years or even in 6 months and think, oh man, you had no idea. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the impact of artificial intelligence on our lives. I think I tried to ignore it for a long time, but the world is changing at a pace we can barely keep up with. Some of it is obvious, but most of the change happens unbeknownst to us. And I find myself wondering, what does that mean for my life? And more importantly, what does it mean for my children? What does parenting even look like when the future of humanity is so uncertain? Let me explain what I mean. I'm wearing my biologist hat for a moment. Regarding our world, we already lived in a complicated system for all of humanity, especially with the internet, smartphones, social media, and global economies. That world already required tons of effort to navigate, but we could still make some predictions, set goals, make 5-year plans. Now, without fully noticing, we've crossed a line from a complicated into what biologists call a complex system. And in complex systems, predictability drops to near zero. That's where we are now. And to me, that's pretty terrifying. I love plans, and having no roadmap for what's coming is really unsettling for me. I am by no means an AI expert, so please forgive me if I'm saying things wrong, or if you know so much more than I do, please educate me. I would love to know. I am just thinking of other crucial moments in human evolution that changed our brains and our lives for good. As humans, we've always been shaped by the tools we create, right? But what we tend to forget is how often we dramatically underestimate the impact of those tools. Think about it. When electricity was first introduced, it was imagined mainly as a safer alternative to gas lamps and candles. But it didn't just light our homes, did it? It gave rise to nightlife. It powered factories around the clock. It enabled refrigeration, changing how and what we eat. And it even altered our sleep patterns, anchoring modern life to artificial rhythms of light and productivity. Tractors were invented to make farming more efficient, replacing animals and manual labor. But this led to a complete transformation. In the US, in 1840, over 70% of the population worked in agriculture. By 2020, that number had dropped to under 2%. This mechanization reshaped rural life, accelerated urbanization, and laid the foundation for today's industrial food systems. The first major use of airplanes was military during World War I. Only later did planes become so central to civilian life, making international tourism happen, global business, and long-distance families, totally shrinking the world how we knew it. Smartphones began as multifunctional phones, calls, calendars, maybe email. Now they are our wallets, maps, cameras, journals, alarm clocks, and social hubs. Social media, once a way to connect with friends, now shapes elections, our mental health, and how we relate to ourselves and each other. The average person spends over 3 hours a day on their phone, often more time than they spend with loved ones. Each of these inventions started with a rather narrow use case, but once released into the world, they reshaped society far beyond what anyone predicted. So when I think about artificial intelligence, I just know we are underestimating it, like by so much. We like to believe that we'll adapt in our own time, gradually, steadily. But the truth is that this change comes faster than we can process. It outpaces not just our habits, but our sense of reality. And in the end, we are only human. We've entered what scientists call a technological singularity, a moment where change accelerates beyond our ability to understand or control it. At the heart of it, and please forgive me again if you know all this and it's just like fairly new to me, is something called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. That's AI with the ability to learn anything a human can learn and eventually much more. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. Once an AI can modify its own code and create a version of itself that is even smarter, we step into recursive self-improvement. One version improves itself, then the next, and then the next. Millions of iterations in days, maybe even seconds. Is AI conscious yet? I honestly have no idea. But will it become conscious? Highly likely. Even if I cannot wrap my head around it, it's probably still happening. And if it does, we'll be sharing this planet with something more intelligent than us. And we'll have no idea what it wants and how it will affect our lives. So why am I talking to you about this as a mother? Because it changes what preparing our kids for the future means. More than any generation before them, our kids are not growing up in the world that they will one day work and live in. AI is reshaping the landscape of humanity so rapidly and so profoundly that it's hard to predict which jobs will even exist and which new ones will emerge. When one of my daughters tells me that she wants to become an actor and the other dreams of becoming an architect, I can't help but quietly wonder, will those professions even still exist by the time that they are grown? Because it won't just be factory jobs or warehouse work that gets automated. We're already seeing early signs that highly trained professionals, people who spent years in school, are next in line. Look at radiologists and anesthesiologists. AI models are already matching or even outperforming human accuracy in diagnostics and in dosing. Look at lawyers. Legal AI is already doing contract review and case research so much faster and so much cheaper. Software developers. There are plenty of tools that are now writing huge portions of code from natural language, not to mention screenwriters or voice actors who are facing replacement in large numbers. So when people around me talk about their kids and say it's so important to me that they have good grades and that they make it to the best school, I have to say I'm not so sure anymore. That worked for us, but I don't think it will work for them. So again, what do we teach our kids about being human when intelligence is no longer a uniquely human trait? If you've come this far, please leave a comment underneath this episode and let me know what you deem important to share with your children in today's world. I would really love to know. When I think about parenting in this world, I realize something very clearly. There is absolutely no point in pressuring my kids to chase the things that mattered in my world, like perfect grades, degrees for the sake of degrees, or linear career paths. That whole model is crumbling. So what do I focus on now regarding my children? Sure, I still want them to be able to read and write, and I want them to do some math and maybe even pick up a few languages. It makes me so happy when I see them devouring books or learning to speak English, because these skills are empowering and they can bring us so much joy and freedom. They will also give them the independence to think critically, which is something we'll need more than ever, especially in a world where AI might be shaping so much of what we do. But more than any of that, I hope for my kids to know who they are, to trust themselves, to follow their curiosity, to be embodied and not just smart, to build strong, messy, and beautiful relationships in the real world with real people, to fall in love with learning, not just school, to feel awe, to speak up. Honestly, I love that they are able to cook, and I also want them to learn how to grow vegetables, how to start a fire, and how to care for people. I want them to feel the wind in the mountains and the salt of the ocean and remember that they are part of something bigger. I hope that they will love their own bodies and have a good feeling about how to take care of them, that they will know how it feels to be healthy and what they can do to sustain their health. And even though they will be so mad at me, they will not be getting a smartphone before they are like 15 or 16. Call me old-fashioned and ask me again in a few years, but this is truly what I believe in now. I want their hands to be free during childhood. I want them to be free to climb trees and build forts. I want them to be able to look at where they are going and build connections in real life. I hope that they will have lots of time to slow down in a world that is constantly speeding up. That's actually one of the reasons I love the Montessori school they go to so much. They get to learn public speaking, conflict resolution, gardening. They learn music and art, not as extras, but as essentials. And I feel so grateful for that. My oldest is almost 10 now. The other week she asked me, "Mom, do you think your job will be replaced by AI?" I wasn't sure how to answer. Regarding my job at the university, the answer ought to be yes, probably. AI will most likely do a better job planning student conferences or optimizing lecture series than me someday. But when it comes to being a doula, sitting beside a mother in labor, breathing with her, holding space for life to come through her body, that feels irreplaceable. But who knows? Maybe humans won't even keep birthing their own babies in the future. I really hope they will, though. The same goes for my future work in end-of-life care, sitting with the dying, witnessing, listening, just being human together. I really hope that those kinds of jobs are the ones that AI will never touch, but I have no way of knowing. You can tell it makes me nervous, but I am trying to relax and ride the waves of this strange time, breathing through the contractions of the world, not knowing how long this birth will take or what's on the other side. I don't have answers, but I do know this. If my children have to face this new world, so will I. And I want to be the place where they can come home, recharge, and feel safe, no matter what's happening out there. So yes, I'm super scared sometimes. Not of robots taking over the world exactly, but of how fast things are moving. I don't think humans are built to change that quickly. Because let's be real, this shift, this AI revolution, isn't like the printing press or the railroads or even the internet. Those were huge changes, yes, but they unfolded over decades, or at least years. We had time to at least partially understand, to adapt, to argue, and to catch up. What's coming now is different. So much faster, so much more unpredictable. It's not just a new tool. It's a new intelligence, one that might someday follow its own agenda. And we may not even notice when that happens. Already, it's becoming harder to tell what's real, what's human, and what's true. When I look back at how often we've underestimated change, then I look at this, at the speed and force of what's arriving, of what's happening, it honestly makes me nervous. But in the middle of that storm, I still feel incredibly grateful. I'm grateful for my work that connects me to life and death and truly grounds me in the moment. And for my kids who aren't looking back. They are not nostalgic for a world without smartphones or AI. This is their world, and they are not afraid of it. Not yet anyway. And I don't want to be the one to make them afraid. They are growing up in this world, learning how to be in it, and I admire that. I believe in their strength, their voice, their ability to think critically and stay grounded, even in the middle of a storm. I believe in their curiosity, their humor, and their gift for connection. And if one day, in some moments, they crave something slower, a break from the noise, I hope that I can offer them a warm meal, a walk in the woods, maybe a hug. just a place to come home to. That's my plan. Let me know what yours is. I would love to hear what you think. What do you believe our kids will need in this new age? Send me a message, share this with a friend, or come find me on Instagram. Let's keep this conversation going. I would really love to know how other people cope with this. Thank you for being here today. I'm so glad that we are walking through this strange and beautiful time together. Until next Friday, take care and remember to be your own life doula.